She was ranked outside the world's top 30 just months ago. Nobody expected her to touch a former world number 3. But on a hot August night in Washington, D.C., a 21-year-old from Manila did it again. She looked across the net at Elina Svitolina and broke her spirit in straight sets. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a fluke. This was the second time in 5 weeks that Alex Eala has humbled one of the toughest fighters on the WTA Tour. And now, the entire tennis world is asking the same terrifying question. Is anyone safe from her? 5 weeks earlier, on the grass courts of Berlin, a rising Filipina star named Alex Eala shocked the tennis world by defeating former world number 3 Elina Svitolina in the quarterfinals of the Berlin Open 6-3, 6-4. It was supposed to be a one-time upset, a story fans would remember fondly and then move past as the tour rolled forward to the next big event. Svitolina, a fierce competitor who has spent years among the sport's elite, was not the kind of player who stayed beaten for long. She was expected to regroup, adjust, and come back stronger the next time these two crossed paths. Nobody imagined that next time would arrive so soon, or that the result would be almost identical. When the draw for the Mubadala DC Open was released in Washington, tennis fans immediately spotted it. Alex Eala and Elina Svitolina set on a collision course once again, this time on hard courts instead of grass, a completely different surface that should have changed everything. Svitolina herself addressed the rematch beforehand, telling reporters it was a new surface, a new country, a new city, and that she hoped to draw confidence from her recent form and carry it into the match. It sounded like the words of a champion preparing to settle a score. The second-seeded Ukrainian had fought her way into the quarterfinals with a gritty 3-set win over Polina Kudermetova, proving she still had the fire that made her one of the most respected competitors on tour. Meanwhile, Eala had been quietly dismantling opponents of her own, taking down defending champion Lila Fernandez and Olympic gold medalist Qinwen Zheng to reach this stage. Two players walked into that Washington, D.C. quarterfinal carrying momentum, confidence, and unfinished business. Only one of them was going to walk out with the answer to the question everyone wanted settled. Was Berlin a fluke, or was this the new reality of women's tennis? The stage was set, the tension was real, and nobody, not even Svitolina's most loyal supporters, could predict exactly what was about to unfold under the Washington lights. What followed would go down as one of the most talked-about results of the entire 2026 WTA season. A rematch that did far more than settle a score between two players. From the very first points of the match, it was clear that Eala had not come to Washington to simply compete. She had come to conquer. The two traded games early, testing each other's rhythm and probing for weaknesses, before Eala found her groove and held serve to take a 4-2 lead in the opening set. Svitolina, ever the fighter, clawed back a break to trim the deficit to 4-3, refusing to let the set slip away without a battle. But Eala responded with poise beyond her years, reeling off the next two games to close out the first set 6-3, sending an early and unmistakable message that Berlin had been no accident. The second set brought Svitolina roaring back to life. The Ukrainian raced out to a commanding 2-0 lead, playing with an aggression that seemed designed to erase every memory of their Berlin encounter. For a moment, it looked like the rematch might tell a very different story. Eala got on the board, but Svitolina restored her two-game cushion, and the pressure in the stadium was palpable. This was the moment that would define the match. The moment where a lesser competitor might have folded under the weight of a former top 3 player's surge. Instead, Eala dug in. She won 3 straight games to seize a 4-3 lead, flipping the entire complexion of the set through sheer composure and clean, clinical shot-making. Svitolina fought back one final time, leveling the set at 4-all and forcing Eala to prove, once and for all, that she belonged on this stage against this caliber of opponent. What came next silenced any remaining doubt. Eala won the final 2 games of the match, closing it out 6-4 to complete a straight-set victory that improved her head-to-head record against Svitolina to a perfect 2-0. The match lasted just under 2 hours, and by the end of it, Eala had converted 6 of her 16 breakpoint chances while surviving 4 aces from her more experienced opponent. She spoke afterward about coming in with a great mindset, admitting that Svitolina had played aggressively, especially in that dramatic second set, but that she was proud of keeping her own rhythm intact under pressure. It was a performance built not on flash, but on relentless, disciplined resolve from start to finish. What makes this victory even more staggering is the context surrounding it. This was not some minor tournament win against an unranked opponent. It was Eala's sixth victory over a top 10 player in 2026 alone, pushing her remarkable head-to-head record against elite competition to an eye-popping 8-4 for the season. For a 21-year-old ranked outside the world's top 25 at the start of the year, that kind of consistency against the sport's best is almost unheard of. It places her firmly among the most dangerous floaters in the entire draw, the kind of player that seeded stars now genuinely fear facing in the early rounds. The victory also carried real financial weight. By reaching the semifinals of the Mubadala DC Open, a WTA 500 event, Eala guaranteed herself at least $90,900 in prize money, according to the tournament's official prize breakdown. That number alone represents a massive payday for a player still building her career, but it is far from her ceiling in Washington. Should she continue her run and capture the title, the champion's check jumps all the way to $252,000, more than double what the runner-up would take home. Even a runner-up finish would net her $155,000, an extraordinary sum that reflects just how much this tournament has grown. In fact, the entire DC Open women's prize pool has exploded since becoming a WTA 500 event, climbing more than 6 times over from $250,000 back in 2019 to a total purse of $1.64 million today. A jump fueled by a 39% increase last year alone, followed by another 28% bump this season. That growth reflects the sport's broader push to close the gap between men's and women's prize money across the tour, and Eala's deep run is helping her cash in directly on that expansion. Beyond the immediate check, this result also adds crucial ranking points to her total, points that will push her further up the WTA rankings and open doors to even bigger draws, bigger seedings, and bigger paydays down the road. For a player who only turned professional a few years ago, the trajectory is now undeniable, and Washington, D.C. is proving to be another major stepping stone in a career that seems to be accelerating with every single tournament she enters. With Svitolina now behind her, Eala's attention turns immediately to an even bigger test, a semi-final showdown against former world number 1 Naomi Osaka, who advanced earlier the same day with a hard-fought 3-set win over Italy's Elisabetta Cocciaretto. It will mark the first-ever meeting between Eala and Osaka, a matchup that instantly became one of the most anticipated of the entire tournament given both players' recent momentum and star power. Speaking about the challenge ahead, Eala expressed genuine excitement, acknowledging Osaka's accomplishments both on and off the court, and the respect she holds for everything the 4-time Grand Slam champion has achieved throughout her career. For Eala, this semifinal represents another opportunity to prove that her run through Washington is not a ceiling, but a continuation of a season that has already redefined expectations for what she can achieve against the very best players in the world. A win over Osaka would not only book her spot in the DC Open final, but would also mark arguably the biggest victory of her career to date, eclipsing even her impressive back-to-back triumphs over Svitolina. It would also push her prize money total for the tournament even higher, inching her closer to that massive $252,000 champion's payday that now sits tantalizingly within reach. Beyond the immediate tournament, this deep run in Washington is expected to meaningfully boost Eala's position in the official WTA rankings, setting her up for stronger seedings in future events and reducing the chances of facing top-ranked opponents in the dreaded early rounds. Still searching for her first-ever WTA Tour-level singles title despite 2 WTA 125 crowns earlier in her career, Eala appears closer than ever to breaking through at the very top level of the sport. Her season, defined by 6 wins over top 10 opponents and an 8-8-4 record against elite competition, has already cemented her as one of the most dangerous rising stars in women's tennis heading into the North American hardcourt swing. With the Canadian Open and Cincinnati still ahead before the U.S. Open, all signs point to a player whose story is only just beginning and whose next chapter could be written on the very biggest stage the sport has to offer. If you enjoyed this latest tennis update and want to stay ahead of the biggest stories in the world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe the channel right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. See you in the next video.